Inevitably, like other people, we're going to start speculation about what's going to show up in Winds of Winter. And I'm going to use George Martin's original outline, which has been public for a while, and I'm going to do a couple of things on it. But here I'm going to concentrate on just one specific story idea that he had in the original outline. Most people probably still don't know that A Song of Ice and Fire was never meant to be this very multi-volume kind of epic. It was originally planned to be just one trilogy, probably as an homage to J.R.R. Tolkien, right? Lord of the Rings is a trilogy, although originally it was one book and artificially cut up into three parts. So George goes into a number of story ideas he was going to develop over the three books, and interestingly enough, the final book was called, yes, Winds of Winter. So he already had a lot of this planned out, but he changed a lot. One specific thing I'm going to look at here is the relationship of Jon Snow. And as people know, he eventually became a lover of Ygritte, a wildling, and some people speculated on the show that he might have a relationship with Sansa. That never happened, but apparently George did plan for Jon to have a relationship with a Stark woman, but it was Arya. Now, what's interestingly there is that if you actually read Game of Thrones closely, you'll see a lot of those story ideas are there, and they're actually explicitly noted. In this particular one, I was pretty shocked. It's very, very early in the book. So Jon and Arya are just having this kind of chance encounter, and they just talk to one another. And again, remember, they're actually very, very young. So presumably the three-book idea, they were going to stretch over a much longer period of time. So they're both very young, and they're just talking to one another. And of course, they've grown up together, but Jon is a bastard. And you can see what George is trying to imply, namely that Jon Snow is kind of like the black sheep of the family. But so is Arya, because she wants to be out on her own, and she has ideas that are very, very different from Sansa. So they both sort of feel like outcasts, and they have a very chance encounter and just trade ideas about what's expected of them when they grow up. Now, again, it's never said explicitly, but you can kind of see hints that of what George was planning, that they sort of look at one another and they're attracted to one another, but they don't really act on it. Now, in the course of the original outline, Jon and Arya have a relationship, but it turns out Tyrion is also interested in Arya as well, because initially he works with the Lannisters but turns against them, and he joins Jon up north at the Wall. Now, some of the story may still happen, some of it may not. If we've been reading the books, Jon is technically dead, and Tyrion is in a really interesting situation, and Arya's training with the Faceless Men. And there's no mention of the Faceless Men in the original outline, so it's unclear if this was an invention he came up with Clash of Kings, or he did in fact plan the Faceless Men, but they were going to be used elsewhere. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting little nuggets in the original outline, but this one in particular is really, really fascinating because we do assume that Arya and Jon are going to meet in Winds of Winter, though what they're going to do together or even whether they're going to be on the same side is really up in question. It's very unlikely they're going to develop a romance now. I'm sure that part of the story is not going to happen, but there are other aspects of the relationship in terms of working with Tyrion that are probably will occur, but they're not going to occur in the way he planned originally. Alright, so this has been a look at Game of Thrones through the prism of the original outline and looking at the possible Jon-Arya connection. GRRM and Thrones Analyzed. If you like the content, please hit the like button. Please share the content. Please comment below if you can. Thank you for listening.